thank you very much for being at this panel, Stadiums as a Community Hub, Unlocking Year-Round Value for Clubs, Cities, and Fans, presented by LaBella Associates. So let's welcome the panelists, Cristian Petschen, Global Practice Leader, Sports Entertainment and Public Venues at LaBella Associates. Cristian, welcome. Brad Bartholomew, Global Design Director, LaBella Associates. Peter Marlette Jr., Founder and President of Buffalo Pro Soccer, the UCL Championship. Dario Sala, Co-founder and CEO, Sports Performance Hub at the Miami FC Project. And Amanda Moura Pietrzak, I hope I pronounced that probably, if I pronounced it very badly.
It's difficult for me also to say my own name.
Yeah, probably. Until Moura, it's okay. I have to say, former professional soccer player, like until a week ago, right? Yeah, so right there. And COO at Legia Ladies in Poland. So welcome, everyone, and thank you for being today at this session. And Cristian, let's start. What does it mean for a stadium to serve as a community hub, and why is that so important nowadays?
Well, it's very relevant today because stadiums can't really be just a place for a single sport. Nowadays, they need to be something that can be multi-sport, that can also serve the community. So have everything from concerts to, food festivals, farmers markets, art walks, and, youth academies, and, become a place that is actually relevant 365 days a year that then creates trust with the community. And it becomes something that's not only a symbol of identity and culture for them, but something that becomes very believable, that it's adding value and actually an asset for them.
And Amanda, as a player, because once a player, always a player. As a player in club executive, what does community-centered infrastructure look like, especially for women's football?
Well, first of all, good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming. We really believe that the basis of women's football is the same sport as men's football, but at the same time is different. And we need to understand that women consume the sport in a different way. We are more interested in family-friendly gatherings. We are more interested in the merch. And we want to be connected. We don't want to come to the matches just to watch the match itself. We really want something else. So as you can see on the back on the slides, those are the activations we did at the main Legia Stadium. We were able to have the main stadium for ourselves, and we played the Pink October. Before the match, we made a debate together with some Polish companies, with the Legia Foundation, and we increased the awareness of women, how to, touch really their breasts and make the checkup on the cancer. Right after that, we played the match in pink. Brands like Adidas recognized that this is the right move to do, so they did us the pink jerseys. So it all shows that we need to consume this football and represent it on a different way to attract the people, no matter the level you play, because we're still on the second tier of competition in Poland.
I just want to, you all know this, but if you want to jump in with any remark on top of what everyone else is saying, just don't wait for me to give you the floor. Just let's keep the conversation flowing. Of course, to make a stadium, a community hub, design and architecture is super important. And Brad, what are the key design strategies when creating a stadium that operates as a community hub?
Well, I think first and foremost, you mentioned stadium sort of serving the community, and that's important. But I think where we start as designers is actually with the community. I think that's sort of the best and sort of the most important thing that you can do. The stadium becomes a very positive result and contributor to the community, but if you really focus on the community, and that's what we do, you're not just sort of thinking about ways to enhance a stadium or an experience at a stadium, but what we do is we'll actually, in the very beginning, meet with the local community, the culture, understand the culture, meet with the supporters, the owners, and really get an understanding of what they may need in their community. And if we can then create a place that represents them, reflects them, but also is something that serves the needs that they have, it actually supports, obviously, the attendance and the experience at the stadium itself, but even larger, we can create an environment that serves the community 365 days a year. So you're seeing a project here that we delivered recently, and it's a beautiful stadium, and we opened it up, and an amazing experience. But it really started with understanding the community. This was actually previously kind of a downtrodden area, and really in need of a lot of things. But we were able to tie into, there's a school nearby, so there's programs both with the school and the field. They actually use the pitch for a number of different events related to the school. There's a series of experiences and environments that we created within the stadium proper and in the surroundings that are there and can be used 365 days a year. So things like, even though it's on the water, it was not an area that was really used much. It was actually the site of an old power plant, so it wasn't the place that people were strolling by the water so much, but in removing that and sort of creating this really nice river walk, we're promoting sort of physical fitness and things of that nature for the community. And then likewise, we have spaces like a food hall that are serving multiple different types of sort of local foods and drinks and things of that nature. Additionally, we have all of the suites and the club spaces that we have are actually not just used on match or event days for kind of a higher level or a premium area, but they're actually places where you can conduct business throughout the week, so offices and meeting spaces and things of that nature. So, and even just the concourse in general, the way that we've developed this is that it's an open concourse, so you can literally move through the stadium and never lose sight of the pitch. And there's something that's really powerful, I think, about that even on even like last night when we were out on the pitch here, there was something very cool and memorable, at least for me, I know. I won't forget that. And so even being able to use that and activate that and not actually be competing on the pitch, I think there's just something unique and special about that. So those are the things that we kind of focus on, and we're passionate about it. And it's kind of, if you love what you do, if you're passionate what you do, you never work a day in your life. That's kind of how we feel about places like this. We can just create something that serves the community and literally transforms the culture and the environment.
Christian, how do you balance the different interests of stakeholders when building the stadium as a community hub?
Actually, the Rhode Island FC project is actually a very good example that he was talking about. It became the infrastructure of the community, both for entertainment and like as a public venue as well. And it was very important because these projects are very complicated. You need to have the funds, you need to get approval from the community, you need to have the city that's invested in it, so you have to get the mayor and the city commissioner and everybody else involved. So this concept of the community hub actually is a win-win for everyone. So I would say that the secret is alignment. So we start early and we work with, the investors, the club, the community, and the city, and we hear all of their voices from the beginning, and we make sure that they're all aligned. And once you're aligned, what you're going to get is you're going to get kind of a trust that this is not something becoming something that is exclusive, but it will become something that's actually a community asset.
And of course, when clubs are pursuing this kind of stadium, this kind of facility, they are looking for community engagement. And Peter, what motivated you to prioritize community value in your stadium project, and how did that affect your approach?
Well, for starters, I'm building this stadium and this club in Buffalo, New York, which is where I'm from. I grew up here. I'm 36 years old. I have probably spent 22 of those years in Buffalo. So it's home. It's very important to me. Also, a little background on the city of Buffalo. Back in the early 1900s, late 1800s, it was one of the wealthiest cities in America, and it has been on a pretty consistent economic and population decline for 100 years or so. And very recently, due to increased immigration and some entrepreneurial investment and spirit in the city, that population growth has started to come back. And it is coming back in a way that's made this population more diverse, more international, and younger. And a football club, it's a phenomenal sports town. We have the Buffalo Bills in NFL. We have the Buffalo Sabres in the National Hockey League. And it's great, but this new population that is coming to Buffalo, frankly, football is the sport that speaks to them. So there's this gap right now, and the market is perfect for us to fill it. So this stadium, there is also, due to this population decline and everything else that I was talking about for so long, we have our NFL stadium, and then from an infrastructure standpoint, there's very little in terms of spaces to host large to medium-sized events. There's, a gap between a capacity of about 5,000 up to our NFL stadium, which is 70,000, 80,000, and there are a lot of events, a lot of acts, a lot of sports, whatever it may be, that certainly need more than 5,000, but are never going to fill an NFL stadium. And we can come in and fill that gap. So there's so much community need that this football club and this stadium can fill. And then also when we talk about building a community-centric stadium, again, I'm from Buffalo. I grew up there. My investors are primarily from Buffalo and grew up there. But we can't assume that our feelings on what the city needs in a stadium and a club echo everybody's. So we have been, over the past year, getting out into the community, and as everyone who has spoken so far has mentioned, getting that feedback and hearing what they want. So it is influencing every decision that we make. And yeah, there's a need for the club. There's a need for a stadium of this size. And then we got out into the community and figured out what they believed needed to be here. And now that's what we're building with LaBella.
Now about infrastructure and impact, Dario, how is a sports performance hub designed to provide long-term value to the community beyond just the professional use?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. But I thought in the beginning it was friends and family, but thank you. Thank you for being here and be interested in what we're doing and what we're sharing here today. In terms of our project, Sport Performance Hub is kind of unique. It's a rare combination of a professional team, residential programs, and a sport and entertainment district. I think we all agree on that. There is no many combination in where you have teenagers living 24/7 through the school year, and then you live in the same environment with a professional team, Miami FC. Coming soon, the Miami FC women's side as well. So what we're trying to achieve in this sport and entertainment district with this kind of infrastructure is what they've been telling you about 24/7 living body area and engaging the community at every level, at every time, or any time during the day, during the weekends. So for us, it was a big challenge, but I had to thank Brad and Cristian, to be honest, to bring this vision to life, and how you guys can see in the screen. It's something that they speak our language. I played professional sport for 18 years, become entrepreneurial for the last 15 years, and having to team up with architecture firm like LaBella, make more efficient our life, but also they really understand the game. They speak football, they are specialists, and I think that they take our vision to a different level, and that's, well, thank you, Chris, and thank you, Brad, about that.
It sounds really great. It looks fantastic. I cannot see from here like the presentation, but it's fantastic, especially the apartment complex next to the stadium. I bet it's made for fans.
We also gonna have the opportunity to bring our professional players, coaches, sport executives, teachers, school. We have the school there, the school center. We have an open gym, a high-performance training center. This is a one-stop shop for the entire community. What we try to create is an element in the landscape that provides you 5 minutes away. There is a big community there, 150,000 people living there, that they only have NASCAR, only the race. And they open 6-7 times a year. So imagine the cities and people who is interested in this kind of project, we can even exchange practices and experience because the cities have to open up to this opportunity for the community and embrace the private investment and use that private investment for many benefits that the community can get.
Amanda, women's football is developing very quickly, but there are not many stadiums exclusively built for women's teams. So what specific features are most needed in stadiums designed to support women's clubs at a high level?
Well, I think first of all, to answer this question, I want to go back to what Dario said. Well, he's from Argentina, I'm from Brazil. Here we go, like two. Yes,
We
two
put them
weeks.
right next to each other.
we love each other.
And we hate each other.
Pele is better. But jokes apart, it's really, I think, it's the perspective of what America can give a benchmark to the whole world. I know for most of the people looking in here, the designs look amazing, but you may not understand or have a correspondence to that if they are not real. And what you're talking about here is not just the architectural aspect, it's the culture. It's the culture that, and also in Poland, even though I'm Brazilian, I work in Poland, is trying to transform this and make people aware of building this culture. What are the values? Can the football club be just them playing the match? And now I can get to your question when we look into the United States, because that's where the first still debate, you know, you have the example in Kansas City, for example, they are just starting to. Women's football in general is a process. It's a process that people need to understand. That comes, Julie Urman, president of Angel City FC, said something that for me it's amazing. It's called patience capital. Maybe for the financial people this is not a good phrase, but it does explain that you will get your return on investment. We just need to remember how much money was infused in men's football, how much the fact that football clubs are not profitable. Right? And we need to understand that it's a cycle. You give the right investment, you increase the quality of your product, meaning the entertainment of the match. You have quality players, a quality match, but you also have a quality experience. Everybody's in the stadium maybe for the first time to watch a women's team, so you need to embrace them. And then you have more supporters, more sponsors, and then the cycle goes on. Talking about specifically the needs of a women stadium build, we are talking about, you know, more family-friendly areas, maybe a babysitting room. Who thought about that? I'm a mother. I retired 5 days ago, but for 2.5 years I've been playing and leaving my son at home with my husband. Wouldn't it be amazing if I could bring him to the match with me, have a babysitter taking care? In the US, those are practices that have been for 20 years happening, right? So how about we talk about women-made locker rooms that, you know, are, it's funny to say, but we've been to some matches that we don't have a disposal for our tampons. We go to toilets that don't have trash. They don't think about our needs, right? And what we're gonna do as women, right? So it's like those small details that make the perfect different situation. And moreover, I stress the fact that for women's football, you shouldn't be worrying just about the product on the field. you should be worrying about also what you offer before the match and after the match. We love a party. We would love to have a meet and greet with the players after the match, stay on with our sponsors. Right? I see the ladies like, yeah, she got it. So that's the vibe that we are looking to. Maybe a DJ, right? It's a different, we don't go to the stadium to eat hot dog and drink beer. We go for the stadium for maybe a cup of champagne and nice merch, like talk to your friends. Maybe we'll do our nails in the stadium, you know? That's, I think, how you like embrace women. I know it's funny, but it's real. It's how we consume the sport, so.
Yeah, I want to jump on that because we created the Women's Cup 5 years ago. I'm a big believer of women's football. And I've been advocating and changing the structure and crashes against the system for many times and talking to a sponsor and changing the mentality and not just go behind the message. It's women need to be treated equal, just no difference, not even have a particular type of a sponsor, They have to be massive because in England there are stats that people here will go crazy about if it happened in football, in men's football. But it's happening right now in women's football. They double up attendance, sponsorship, viewers every year. It's a vertical what's going on, how they grow. And they still thinking 10 years back. They make this separation, okay, this is only for the market of women food. No. It has to be massive, open up. Not just the difference, right? But also embrace those different, but put it with the massive audience.
Yeah, you know, for example, last year I was in Sevilla, Sánchez Pizjuán. You know, I've been going to the stadiums and football for 35 years or so, and I see more families and families, young couples with babies and strollers. How, you know, it's such a complication for them to go up in the stands with the strollers and everything. I was thinking, this is just not designed. Of course, it's fair enough that Sánchez Pizjuán it's an old, basic stadium. They need to renovate it and all. But I was thinking, the next generation, the present generation of football fans need something else beyond mothers, beyond women. It's the family too. So, but in this case of women's facilities, Cristian, what are the must-haves in purpose-built women's stadiums to ensure that they serve both athletes and the broader community?
So Amanda said it better. She said it all. But yeah, I think that the magic word is purpose-built. I think that we need to listen and pay attention and see what women need. Let's talk to them. And I think we're doing many projects for women's sports, and you know, it always comes up. We can't just go to a men's facility and shrink it or change it. It needs to be something that's purpose-built. If we do have, and there's many stadiums coming up that are both for men and women, well, guess what? They need to have their own facilities. It's not shared facilities. We make the locker rooms that are purpose-built for women. We make the training facilities purpose-built for women. We make, you know, physical therapy purpose-built for women. And you know, and the list goes on. Obviously, you know, daycare centers, lactation rooms, many things that are different than what it is for men, and you need to do it purpose-built for them. Another thing that we find is very, very interesting and exciting, and that people don't think about, is that the aspirations and kind of what you're communicating out to the community with an actual building and stadium that is purpose-built for the women's team is actually huge. We have these amazing, you know, superheroes like Amanda, these warriors that are actually an example to the community. And you have, you know, young boys and young women that are going to the stadium and watching these warriors and seeing how incredibly well they play. And the whole facade of the building, for example, will do with LEDs that you can change colors for Pink Day, and maybe they're communicating something that has to do with the values that they have. And we have, you know, digital supports within the buildings and not just graphics that can have promotions and advertisements that, guess what, for women, because their audience is different. You have many more women that are going to the women's game. You have families that are going with the kids. We're creating family areas that maybe there isn't drinking. We worry much more about access and security to the stadium, which is something that is highly valued, how it connects to public transportation. All of these things that really should be for all stadiums, but become even more important. We are even doing more things that have to do with sustainability, even making greener buildings for the women's stadiums, because it's something that is part of the values as well. We talk more about diversity and things like that because it is part of the values of the women's athletes as well. But definitely, let's listen to what they have to say and see what their needs are, and obviously build a knowledge base based from a technical point of view all the way to what we need to communicate, and all these amazing commercial opportunities for revenue, as we know in fashion and everything else, that there are towards this market.
Especially Europe and United States can be the one showing the direction. South America, as you know, in South America, for example, to have a professional team for women, the federation have to penalize the team who doesn't have a professional women's side.
That's true.
Which is really?
They need to pay a fine.
So this is how far behind we are in South America, meaning they need to pay a fine. Or if you're River Plate or Boca Juniors in Argentina, if you're champion of your league, if you don't have a women's team, you don't go to the Champions League. So the federations are trying to make the teams understand, but the people who is running those teams have to be a natural thing to create women. It's going on. In Colo-Colo in Chile, they bring 7,000 to 9,000 people to the stadium.
Tigres
every game.
Also.
Tigres.
Tigres.
Last final in Mexico, last championship game has more viewers than MLS final.
If I can add something in here, it became viral. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the baby in the La Bombonera.
Ah, yeah.
Boca Juniors.
Yeah.
In Boca Juniors. So this is the perfect example, the passion that can come from young age. This is like the representation of what we've been talking about, right? So what are the values we're going to give to this baby? And just to add on, it's also very important to understand this is not a war, and this is not a feminist movement. It's about being together. As Dario said, it's about also, on a note what Cristian said, our biggest supporters are 12-year-old boys. They are our fan club called Legia Ladies Fanatics. So they come to every match and they want to do stickers and they want to do the flags. Boys, not girls, So you need to understand that it really not that we are just targeting and we are going to be excluding men. No, we have 50% audience coming to our matches, but it's just like how to make this experience good for everyone.
Peter, I want to go back to you and ask you, about community engagement and how important it is to get everyone involved when you go, to make such a big project. Like, what kind of feedback or challenges have you faced from the public or the city or authorities during the planning?
So from the public, this was largely very well received, as you can imagine. It is a new professional sports club in a city that is obsessed with professional sports. But at the same time, it is a skeptical city. It's a skeptical population. It is a population that for most of their lives have heard about projects starting and big projects being attempted, and then for whatever reason not coming to completion. So it was very important to me that from day one they were seeing me, seeing my background, which has been very successful in the league that we are bringing to Buffalo, and seeing my investors and seeing the people that were consulting for us and hiring a firm like LaBella that is nationally and globally recognized. It was very important to get in front of our local population as often as possible and as strongly as possible, but also in a very engaging way. So one thing that we started from day one, so we announced this club in March of 2023. And one of the first things that we did was start what we're calling our community town halls. And those are, we go to a different bar, or it's actually, I think it's entirely been bars, but maybe we'll branch out from that, but bars work for us. We go to a different bar once a month, and I sit up on a stage like this or sit up on a bar like that, and we buy everyone's first beer, or whatever they want to drink. And it's just an hour long of me giving an update, and then me giving an update for 2 minutes, and then just an open conversation with the community who chooses to show up. We've had, hundreds in attendance at each one of those. They've gone phenomenally well, and it has allowed the community to really feel that they are getting buy-in into this project and that they are influencing the design of our stadium, Listen, this is a startup club. Right now we're operating under the corporate entity name Buffalo Pro Soccer, which is terrible. This isn't a club name. We have to do our branding still, everything ground up. And by getting out in front of the community and engaging in this very organic, real connected way, they feel and they are truly getting to influence everything that we do. That has allowed us to get significant community buy-in. It has shown our elected officials, our mayor, our other elected politicians that this is a project they need to support because it has the community support. When it was first announced, everyone was, and I'm talking elected officials, everyone was very excited in those first meetings, or prior to the announcement, everyone was very excited. But also before they signed their name to it or gave a public statement, they wanted to make sure that the community was behind it. And now, our mayor, every other major elected official in the city and region has put their full support behind it because they've seen this is a winning project for them too, if we do this the right way like we have been. So there were challenges overcoming a skeptical market, but by getting out into the community and engaging with them from day one, we overcame those pretty quickly, honestly.
You mentioned skepticism, and I want to ask Brad, how can stadiums overcome skepticism and prove that they are assets for their entire community?
Well, I think we've been talking about that quite a bit already, and even kind of my earlier comments related to it, kind of thinking about the community at the really onset of what we're doing, certainly is where we start. But I think the other thing that we do a lot is, obviously the constant community engagement, but we can, even as you're seeing with some of the things behind me, bring it to life. So it's not just a dream in somebody's mind, or it's not just, in general, I think, people can be skeptical. That's kind of where they start from. And sometimes it's, I need to see it to believe it. And so I think, for us, because we kind of understand what goes into making a facility like this, and we root it in the community and the local environment, those are kind of baselines, and then we can kind of take our experience as architects and designers, more on a technical side, if you will, and create some of these really amazing images and fly-throughs and things that really begin to bring it to life. And then I think that's something that they can use to help sell the dream, if you will. And that, I think, really helps with kind of tempering that skepticism.
I thought you wanted to add something, taking the microphone. But I wanted to ask you, Cristian, also, do you have in mind like an example of a stadium, whether it's from a high elite level club in the world, or if it's from a local small club that really it's an example of a community hub that, this is it. This is what we're after.
I think that the project that we're doing with Dario, the Sports Performance Hub, is a very good example. you know, it's a difficult question to answer because if you're doing a community hub and it's what we call human-centered design, you literally start with the community, with the fans, with everything that surrounds it, and then you design back. So what does that mean is that every single project is going to be completely different. But I can give you an example. An example, for example, in SPH, it's in an area which is Homestead, which is the last kind of frontier in South Florida, right before the Keys. It was an area that was highly agricultural, and Miami grew. And now there's lots of housing there, but there's not much to do. There's not a lot of infrastructure. There was an area that they wanted to create a park, which is just dirt. There's not much there. They've drawn some lines for fields where like youth tournaments go and play there. And what we did was we went through a negotiating period with the mayor, with the city commissioner, with the community. And in an original drawing that a different architecture firm had done that had created a park there, they had a community building. And what we said was, well, let's do a stadium. The west side of the building, which has most of the hospitality, the pitch clubs, the club lounge, the terraces, all of those can be your community building, and you're going to have access and be able to have your public forums, and it can become places for, you know, events that you have within your community. You can have, you know, all these things that your community building was going to have on steroids, like incredibly well designed, you know, the latest and greatest of everything. It's like being in a, you know, 5-star hotel, and this is for your community. Another thing we're doing is that we're creating the park, and we're making this beautiful park with white oaks and paths and the river walk and everything else, financed by the team. And then they have a training academy, as Dario mentioned, and the training academy needs, you know, 12, 13 fields, soccer and football and rugby and lacrosse and tennis courts and paddle and everything you can imagine. And they're saying, well, you know, the academy, we only need them until 5:30. So why don't we create an app that anybody in the community, and then all these leagues and camps and coaches that have, you know, are basically providing these services now have world-class infrastructure that they can go on their phone, on their app, and book after hours, after 5:30, or Saturdays or Sundays, and use those fields that are being maintained and operated by SPH. Now, in turn, they're giving them the land, you know, so there is, it's a partnership. It's a P3, it's a partnership between the government and private entities and investors. You know, when Dario and when we were interviewed and we talked, you know, we could see it was a vocational thing. He had been a coach. He had coached professional teams, kids team. He's a mentor and that's why they're doing it. They're not just doing it for money. Obviously, it needs to revenue, and we need to design it in a way that's going to revenue so it's sustainable in time. Otherwise, it's not going to exist, and it's going to be bad for everybody. But it was very clear to everybody that this is a community asset, and it wasn't just talk. They walked the walk. And I think that's a very good example, and there's many good examples of projects like that. And when that happens, they become sustainable, and they become an example for other cities to point their fingers at, and they say, hey, you know, guess what? Look at the economic impact that this was a catalyst for the community, which was good for us as a city because they pay taxes, and it was good for the community because they have an infrastructure, and it was great for the investors in the club as well. And they can bring their team, which in his case is Miami FC, but they can also have their academy that brings the youth up, and then maybe can look at that stadium and say, we can be one of those pros, and I'm sure there's going to be some of the academy people that are going to go into Miami FC, and now they have an aspirational. They have a coliseum where they see the Warriors that they can become afterwards. And obviously, they're bringing a women's team as well. So that will be very similar, and they'll have that dual purpose.
And Chris, what Peter mentioned about elected official and mayor, city manager, they have a winning project in hand. They were skeptical. In our case, they were against. No skeptical. We have the mayor publicly saying, we don't want this project here. We don't. And the economic development of the city department, the Air Force, we have a year of full obstacles until they understand this is a winning project and we're not going anywhere. We're determined to do it. And they understand what Cristian said. The vision was through the vocation and the legacy attached with the education piece, was also bringing the professional team to an area that Miami grows rapidly in the last 5 years, 10 years. In that area, they built thousands of houses with no entertainment, with nothing to do. So it took several meetings with mayors, city commissioners to understand what direction of this was going. One that they buy into, the sky is the limit for private investors. I don't know in Europe, but I think those cases that we're talking is totally replicable. I don't know how
It's, yeah, you can replicate, and
you can replicate
it's
in Europe.
In Europe,
Absolutely.
we have the same.
And my company actually, some of our clients are here from Valencia in Spain, and we have in Italy and Rome several cases like that with academies that cover the needs for the residential program, but also welcoming the outside people and covering their needs during the weekend, during the week, and attached to the educational piece. I think that's the model that we promote, and the cities, the politicians, once that you have the people and the knowledge, the team, like you said, consulting teams, LaBella, other consulting team for us was the legal firm, the lobbyist. I think putting together a very professional team attached to the vision, it can be replicable here in Europe as well.
Just like that, we are into the last 5 minutes of our panel. So I would like to ask you all, just final thoughts. In one sentence, let's start with Brad. What advice would you give to any club or city building a stadium intended to serve the broader community?
I'm a designer, so one sentence is a trick question. However, I would distill it down to think beyond now, think beyond the spectacle and the icon, and instead focus on creating community. That's what it's all about.
Amanda.
Oh, right away like that. So I'll joke too, as a football player, my sentence is, we'll do everything to win the 3 points. No, I'm joking. I think it's about giving back. It's engaging the people in the process, because not everyone has the privilege to be on the pitch.
In our case, it was pretty much giving back. This is how we create our community hub, our sport performance hub, giving back to the community. And we always have the phrase of with the values from the past and open to the technologies and using the technology of the future. I think this is the key for us.
Peter?
Yeah, for us, it would be authentically engage with the community. We have a group of consultants and experts, and I've done this for years all over the world. But if we're going to build a true community asset, we can't assume that we just know what's best. We need to engage with the community in an authentic way and really build on what they give us, because it's for them at the end of it.
I would say start with purpose, not capacity.
Fantastic, one sentence. Yeah, that's great. We have, we have still,
More of a philosophical thing than
Yeah.
a designer.
yeah, we have 2 more minutes. If any of you want to ask a question, please, that's the opportunity. Otherwise, maybe I will ask a final question, but questions? Okay. Oh. Yeah.
You can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, great question. I think there is no research whatsoever in the market. We know that there are some people making pledges now to research the high level of injuries in women's football, more ACL tears than ever. Some people say it's related to the menstrual cycle, but we cannot prove that. So as, for instance, in Legia Ladies, for 1.5 years, we've been tracking our menstrual cycle of our players, which is really innovative for clubs in Europe to do so. So every day after the practice, the girl need to say how they feel after the training and which day of the menstrual cycle they are in, and then the coaches are able to distribute the training accordingly. But you are right, there are no many tools to help us gather this information in one place and distribute it properly to give the market the research that we are looking for, right? I think everybody right now is at the stage of giving those metrics. We do use a GPS tracking in every training and matches, and that gives us what everybody pretty much know, the performance part of it, which is really important. But then we have a separation of the medical, the fitness, and the menstrual cycle health. It would be great to have one platform to have everything in one place.
I would like to add something as well. So I've been heavily involved with AI for the past 9 years, so it's something I understand quite well. My answer is the technology is here for sure. So we have computer vision, we can track. We have devices that you can put on the body and GPS that can also track. And the machine learning and AI is very good at determining these things. The issue we have now is that we don't have the big data around it. So let's say today we attach on every single female athlete a device and we're scanning with computer vision, and then we see when there's an ACL injury, the machine will be very good at determining the reason or what was happening or what is it correlated to. So I think that it will happen soon. We just need to gather all the data to start associating and making those correlations, where then we can go back and say, well, if we don't do this or if we do that, it actually helps and it's going to reduce the amount of injuries.
Okay, thank you very much, Cristian Petschen, Brad Bartholomew, Peter Marlette Jr., Dario Sala, and Amanda Moura, for this really interesting and insightful panel about the stadiums as a community hub. LaBella Associates, thank you very much. A round of applause, please, for our panelists.